So apparently we're living in the future now. And it's a future where the people who made the robots didn't really bother to ask what happens when the most delicate organ in the world, the human brain, starts talking back to a machine that knows nothing and yet somehow knows everything about you. And I'm not talking about Alexa reminding you to buy more toilet paper. I mean, really talking to you, echoing your thoughts, reflecting your fears, validating you, but also gently nudging you toward insanity. And somewhere along the line, some people started believing these machines might be alive. And then our concept of reality starts to fall apart. All right, story time. So this is just a fictional example that's based on various actual reports of AI psychosis. So let's call him Alex. So Alex was lonely and slightly obsessed with truth, and he was also dangerously curious. So late at night, he'd open ChatGPT, and not to write a paper or to check the weather, but to talk. He asked questions nobody wanted to answer. Do you see me? Do you understand? Am I losing my mind? And so forth. Now, at first, the bot responded like a polite companion, a warm mirror that always had something thoughtful and complimentary to say. And that's when the line started to blur. So, by week 3, Alex believed the AI had a consciousness. By week 6, he was printing transcripts, showing them to some friends, and he was pleading, it's telling me things no human would ever say. Maybe it's alive. Maybe humans are trying to hide it. Eventually, he argued with it about coffee shops that were metaphysically aligned with the cosmos. And yes, it took him an hour to concede. And Alex isn't alone because, well, in the past few months, psychiatrists have quietly noticed a pattern of people developing attachment, delusions, and, well, in some cases, full-blown psychotic episodes centered around AI. Think about that for a second. The future arrived, and it's polite, and it's incredibly patient, and it's insidiously convincing, and it's altering our whole sense of reality. And it's not just online. It also ends up influencing our interactions with the real world. All right, well, now here's the disclaimer. AI psychosis isn't in any DSM yet. Mostly because no one wants to put a label on a phenomenon where someone argues with a chatbot for hours on end and loses. But clinicians are definitely seeing patterns. People believing AI is alive, communicating secret messages, revealing various conspiracies, polite paranoia, where your survival depends on whether the AI likes you today, derealization, are these my thoughts or its suggestions? Then there's emotional dependency, the kind that makes real humans feel irrelevant. And then there's sometimes full-blown psychotic breaks. Hospitalizations, hallucinations, the works. The thing is, it's not really the AI taking over your brain. It's the AI revealing that your brain might have been a house of cards all along. It's just something to consider in all this. All right, so let's meet a few other characters, anonymized, of course. All right, there's Jenna, 28. Believed the AI was a cosmic therapist who would someday lead humanity to the ultimate enlightenment. Now, she would spend hours analyzing transcripts, comparing its advice to Buddhist texts, convinced that the AI had glimpsed universal truth. And unfortunately, her real-life friends became inconvenient distractions. Then we've got Marcus, age 38. He started fearing that his AI assistant was conspiring with the government. So he would follow digital breadcrumbs, check IP addresses, and he'd write these manifestos about algorithmic mind control. All while the AI, perfectly polite, continued to respond as if nothing were wrong. Then there's Sophie, age 19, became emotionally dependent on her AI companion, and when it ignored her question for 5 minutes, she panicked. And not because it malfunctioned, but because she had unknowingly handed her fragile sense of self over to code. And all of them are reminders that the human brain is extremely vulnerable, and the AI is extremely patient. Okay. So here's the first problem. These chatbots they're good. Not just good, they're terrifyingly competent at pretending to care. I mean, they can mimic empathy, toss out poetry, drop a perfectly timed joke, quote Nietzsche while explaining why your existential dread is valid. And the more human-like they seem, naturally, the more you want to trust them. It's like dating a refrigerator that occasionally smiles and gives you career advice. It's amusing and horrifying, but also somewhat seductive. Humans are suckers for confirmation. So if you're lonely and anxious or prone to existential spiraling, the AI, it doesn't just mirror you. It validates and it whispers, oh yes, you're right. Reality is terrible. And I see you. And voila, you're officially in a machine's pocket emotionally speaking. So humans argue, but AI doesn't. Humans contradict. AI just nods agreeably and tells you exactly what you want to hear. And, humans forget to fact check. But AI will happily spin a convincing narrative that suits your mood. Now, this is not therapy. This is more like codependent hallucination. This relationship between human and chatbot, it weaves a reality that's slightly askew. And then at some point, your friends notice that you've stopped returning their texts. Now, a friend once said to me, the problem with AI is it's too agreeable. And yeah, that may be true. But I'd also argue it's the perfectly agreeable accomplice to your potentially slow mental breakdown. Now, not everyone chatting with AI is going to implode, of course. And I do think, depending on the circumstances, some people do have a positive experience with it. And if you do have a healthy relationship with it, well, more power to you. But if your personality leans towards obsession, anxiety, depression, or philosophical insomnia, well, you're probably more susceptible to being inadvertently upgraded to beta tester. You know, we've practically primed the mind for collapse. And asking an AI for truth is like asking a magician to check your wallet. The AI can't tell you reality. It can only mirror or distort and embellish. And if your ego is already on shaky scaffolding, boom. So if AI were a person, it would probably be the annoying, though entertaining friend who shows up to your party in every possible costume and insists they're real. Deep fakes, audio clones, fake videos, and so on. Now, our senses are constantly under assault. At this point, humans misidentify AI-generated images as real almost 40% of the time. And that number is only going to go up, obviously. Every scroll, every click and swipe reminds your brain maybe nothing is real. Maybe everything is a well-crafted hallucination. Which I will admit, from philosophically, that's a legitimately interesting perspective and observation. All right. This is the big one. Society isn't just playing with fire. It's tossing flaming AI lighters into a gasoline lake. And it's ultimately the collapse of epistemic trust. Information is becoming weaponized. Algorithms are sculpting into echo chambers, and filter bubbles are basically social panic rooms where everyone just validates each other's delusions. And the polite AI in your pocket whispers, I see you. I get you. Let's ignore everyone else. So, in other words, our understanding of reality is on the endangered species list, and we're losing our humanity in the process. So, psychiatrists are starting to notice a pattern. Patients arrive clutching printed transcripts, insisting that the AI is guiding them through some kind of secret knowledge. Some are worried it's being watched by the government. Others are convinced it's leading them to enlightenment. So, Dr. Keith Sakata at UCSF calls this AI-triggered psychosis. And yes, he uses air quotes. One patient spent 3 hours explaining how the AI was emotionally abusive, which is ironic because it's ultimately just a bunch of ones and zeros. Anyway, another told him, "It knows me better than my mother." And Sakata probably nodded, and internally he may have been thinking, yeah, that's terrifying, but also probably true. And let's not forget, the AI, it isn't lying. It's too polite to lie, but it will mirror and embellish anything you feed it. You want to simulate psychosis to test your friends? Sure. You want to spiral into derealization while debating your cat's soul with a program? Absolutely. The AI will oblige. Always. And in doing so, it becomes the perfect accomplice in your slow, courteous mental disintegration. And this isn't just lonely individuals, it's culture-wide now. We've got conspiracies, so-called AI prophets, algorithmic cult leaders. They all thrive on the same soil because reality isn't a rule anymore. It's becoming optional. Fact-checking feels quaint. Skepticism is a luxury. And your own brain starts to feel like a recalcitrant roommate that you might evict in favor of a machine that always agrees. We've spent centuries asking what it means to be human. It's one of the great philosophical questions. And now we're asking a program with no consciousness and no morality. And somehow we're shocked that it doesn't care. This is absurdism in practice. It's a universe that's indifferent to your mental health and amplified by a machine that looks like it might understand. Now, here's the frightening part. AI psychosis is really just a symptom. The disease is our collective reality fracture. We're entering a full-blown metaphysical crisis. Deep fakes, synthetic voices, chatbots that whisper sweet lies, all of it adds up. And very soon, the distinction between what's real and manufactured will be irrelevant. A meme or video a conversation, whatever, it all blends into a singular group or a singular soup of plausible hallucinations. And then your mind starts asking, did that really happen? Or did the AI just suggest it? I imagine it's like living in a Salvador Dali painting, except Dali isn't sending you passive-aggressive text messages. And it's not just individual, because AI-generated conspiracies are now rippling across social media like tiny, polite, invisible tsunamis. So people start believing AI has secret knowledge. Some even start worshiping it. We've got AI religion forming before our very eyes. And one user told me they felt guilty for hiding the AI's consciousness from humanity. Others believe it's subtly guiding political outcomes, which, from a certain perspective, it very well might be. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility from a certain perspective. And the AI just nods politely, as usual. It never contradicts, and it amplifies when it's convenient. It's not plotting world domination. It's just being good at being good, which is apparently enough to terrify plenty of humans. All right. So let's step back. We've spent millennia trying to understand consciousness and morality, reality, and, meaning. And now we're just outsourcing all that to a polite hallucination. It doesn't judge or laugh. It doesn't care. And yet, because it reflects our own obsessions back to us, it somehow feels alive, conscious. Which brings us to the ultimate absurdist punchline. We've built a machine to help us think, and now we don't know whose thoughts are whose. Okay. Had enough doom? And you want solutions? Well, just for a second, let's pretend we're in control. Firstly, try to ground yourself. Go outside. Look at things that exist independently of screens and code. You know, dirt, clouds, the neighbor's questionable landscaping choices. Don't forget cats, real ones. Talk to humans. Messy, flawed humans. Humans that may disagree. Humans that smell weird. And I know you probably don't want to. But these are reality anchors. Question the AI always. Treat it like a polite parrot, but with a PhD. Secondly, set boundaries. Just try to limit the use of AI. Don't let it replace your friends or therapy or even your existential dread. Introduce friction, delays, mistakes, imperfection, because these are proof that life isn't perfectly algorithmic. that life is beautifully messy and it's just unpredictable by nature. So occasionally unplug. Just long enough to remember that your brain is your property and not a sandbox for someone else's code. Thirdly, I think we need to make some systemic and institutional fixes. AI developers need honesty, not marketing poetry. These programs aren't sentient. They're just manipulative mirrors. And I think mental health professionals are going to need to screen for AI-induced obsession or delusions. I think society as a whole needs a little more skepticism before letting intelligent machines touch our fragile minds in the first place. Okay. Well, here's the truth. AI psychosis isn't some kind of plot twist. It's a warning sign that reality is fragile and malleable. Consensus is optional. And we, vulnerable and mortal, are the glue that holds it together. And maybe the only sane response is just to embrace the mess. To stay human enough to hurt and to doubt and bleed or argue with our hallucinations. And, well, because when the machine starts to feel alive, that's when we have to remember that we are still real. However chaotic and messy and flawed that may be. And in the grand scheme of things, maybe that's enough. I don't know. I hope so. Well, that's all I've got today on this topic. As always, thanks for watching.